Hello again, Internet. I'm Doug with Totally Rad, and today I wanted to talk to you about using PixelSugar with Adobe Lightroom. So first things first, you're going to want to open up PixelSugar and go to the PixelSugar menu and select Connect to Lightroom. That is just going to create a file in a directory where Lightroom can read it that tells Lightroom about PixelSugar and how to send files to PixelSugar so that we can edit with PixelSugar. If you haven't already, then you're going to want to go to Lightroom and close it down and start it up again. That way Lightroom reads in all of its presets again and will pick up on that little file that we just created. So the next step is to basically just do your thing in Lightroom. What I recommend is use Lightroom for things like exposure correction, white balance compensation, tint, highlights, shadows. Those kinds of technical corrections are best done in Lightroom if you're going to use this kind of workflow. And that's because at this stage, when you're working with a RAW file in particular, Lightroom has access to the extra headroom in the RAW file that allows you to pull highlights or shadows up that might have otherwise been blown out and to really do precise color temperature correction. By the time stuff gets to PixelSugar in this particular workflow, that information will have been lost. Now, if you're using PixelSugar just directly from your hard drive to open a RAW file, then PixelSugar is working directly with the RAW file. That's different. But if you're going to send something to PixelSugar from Lightroom, make sure that if you have something that's overexposed, you correct that in Lightroom and take care of that kind of technical stuff here. So in this case, I've just dialed in a tiny bit of negative exposure compensation, brought the shadows up a tiny bit and the whites down. And that's looking about, I think, how I would like it to look, getting a little bit more range back. And so what we're going to do at this point is use PixelSugar just for the artistic or the color grading part of this, to take the very neutral, very accurate, very boring colors that we get directly out of camera and add something that has a little flavor to it. All you're going to do is go down here to the file that you're working with, to this thumbnail, and go to Edit In and select PixelSugar. And you can leave all of these pretty much as is. PixelSugar can handle a variety of formats, but what you want is probably a TIFF in sRGB color space, 16 bits per component. If you really feel like you want Adobe RGB or ProPhoto RGB because you're a stickler for that, PixelSugar can handle that too. But generally speaking, unless you know what you're doing, I always recommend people just stick with sRGB because it avoids a lot of headaches and confusion. With that all set up, this should be the default if you just connected things. Click Edit. What that's going to do is Lightroom's going to write a copy of this file with the adjustments we've made, that little bit of exposure compensation and the shadows and highlights corrections, and it's going to write that out as a TIFF file in that format we specified, and then basically say, hey, PixelSugar, go edit this TIFF, and it'll keep track of any changes that we make to that TIFF as part of the catalog. So once we have that in PixelSugar, we can do whatever we want with it. In this case, I'm going to run a little bit of a weight because I've always liked that. Actually something from PicTapGo. We are going to add shadows, and the shadows filter always kind of looks way too strong at first, so I recommend dialing it way back. And I just leave it like that, actually. You don't need to go crazy, even though PixelSugar has hundreds of filters. What I usually do is just run one or two, just to give the photo just a little bit of flavor, just a little bit of a look. I think I'm actually going to do a little bit of Grainstorm because I like that too. And for me, that's kind of an edit that I like. I've been editing stuff that way for years, and we're just going to go over here and click the checkbox. And PixelSugar is going to write that file back. And when you go back to Lightroom, you're going to see right over here, we have a second version of this file. So this is the original, the raw file that we were working with. And this is the version after our subtle PixelSugar changes. So at this point, all the changes we've made have been baked into this file we've made. If you want to make any further changes, start with the raw file again and go edit in, and you're going to have to edit all over again. And that's just kind of a limitation of how the integration between PixelSugar and Lightroom works. But yeah, you'll see that this is tracked right next to this original file in your catalog. You can stack them together if you want, but I find it easier to just keep them side by side like that, so I know I'm looking at a separate version. And that is sort of basically it. If you are a Lightroom user and you have any other feedback on this, we'd love to hear how you use this. And if you found any other tips or tricks that I didn't mention, please let us know in the comments. Otherwise, make sure to hit subscribe so you are in the loop with any future changes to the way this works and any future tips and tricks that we have the time to make videos for. So thanks for watching. Hope this is awesome and helps your workflow. And I'm bad at goodbyes. Goodbye.